So it's finally landed. iOS is here and we now know what the impact it's having on Facebook advertising. So in this video, I'm going to explain what's being impacted and how you can get ahead of it all right now. Now, all this information is still pretty new and there's lots of new information coming out. So I may have to do some more videos on this later down the line as more and more strategies get revealed. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can keep up to date with any changes and stay profitable with your business. So late last year, I did a video on the channel about the iOS 14 update and the potential impact it would have on many advertisers. A lot of people were quite concerned when the news about the iOS update dropped, but now that it's happened, it doesn't look like it's going to cause as many issues as we initially thought, which is really reassuring. Now, if you don't know what's going on, then all this fuss has occurred because Apple have released an update where they introduced a pop-up that asks their users if they are happy for Facebook, Instagram, or anything else to track their activity. And we can be pretty confident that most people are going to say no, and when they do that, advertisers won't be able to track them as efficiently, which makes it harder and harder to manage your advertising campaigns. It's making Facebook, for example, have these pop-ups to allow people to either opt in or opt out of being tracked on third-party websites, and that's why it's causing such a big deal. Now, this only affects iOS devices, so Android and Windows devices will still be fine, but you can expect tracking on iOS devices to be heavily impacted by this change. But the key takeaway from all of this is that even though tracking on iOS devices will be limited, we will still be able to run conversion campaigns and track purchases, which is what most people want to do anyway. And this is absolutely huge because the initial worry was that you wouldn't know where the purchases are coming from, which makes it impossible to grow your business. But from what we know now, this just isn't the case. So it means that even though Facebook and Instagram tracking will be limited, and what I mean by that, for example, is if someone opts out on iOS, instead of seeing the tracking showing that someone has come through to your website, went to a certain page, and then added to cart, initiated checkout, and purchased, you're not going to be able to see all of that customer journey, all of that data. But if they get to the purchase, you will still see the purchase. And that is sort of really important because you can still see exactly what results you're producing with your Facebook ad campaigns to see if those campaigns were profitable or not. And that's a massive relief for a lot of people. This also means that you can still optimize your campaigns, which are really important. So you'll be able to see which ads are producing better results because you now have that purchase data, so you can optimize accordingly. Facebook advertising relies heavily on being able to track who is taking certain actions on your website, whether that's a purchase or a lead or any other conversion type. And they estimated that if you remove the ability for them to track conversions, it would have a 50 to 60% decrease in the effectiveness of Facebook advertising. But the good news is that that isn't happening because even if people opt out, Facebook can still track one conversion event. And that event is going to be the most important one for you, which at the end of the day, for the vast majority of Facebook advertisers, is all you really should be focusing on anyway. If you're an e-commerce business, you want to be looking at purchase numbers, cost per purchase, and stuff like that. If you're generating leads for your website, you want to be looking at your cost per lead and purchases so you can manage your ROI. So you're going to lose all the other data in between if people opt out on iOS devices. Again, this is not going to apply to Android devices, just iOS. So you will still have all that customer journey from the Android devices. And I think that for the majority of Facebook advertisers, you're still going to be able to advertise in the same way that you do now. Even though there will be less data coming through, it won't change the basic concept of your strategies. Remember, this only affects iOS users who specifically choose to opt out, which might be most of them, but it might not. You never know. Most people would just accept cookies and pop-ups just to get them out of the way. The only time will tell what percentage of people choose to opt out or not. So it's only going to affect a portion of your target audience and not all of it. So all of these changes, it doesn't look like it's going to be as big of a deal as people originally made it out to be, which is great. Now, there are some changes that will happen that might cause some issues. So instead of providing real-time data, there's now going to be a delay in reporting. So before the change, if somebody clicks on an ad, goes through to your website and makes a purchase, that's going to show up in your ad account after a few minutes or so. But that's not going to be the case anymore because there's now going to be a delay. We don't know exactly how long the delay is going to be, but some people are estimating it could take between 1 to 3 days before a conversion shows up, which isn't great. It's very important to understand this, because if you start running a new campaign and you don't see any purchases for 2 days and you start panicking, it doesn't mean they haven't happened. It just means it hasn't appeared up on your dashboard on your ad account just yet. So you're probably going to need to change your approach a little bit to kind of get around this delay. You won't be able to run an ad for a day and then decide if it's performing well or not, because you might not have the data visible in your ad account at that time. You're going to need to give things like ads and ad sets a much longer time period to work, probably up to a 7-day window now. You're just going to have to take a more sort of long-term approach and look at things over a longer time period because of this change. Now, the other change that Facebook has done is they've changed the attribution window. So right now, the default attribution window is a 28-day click, 1-day view window. So what that means is that if someone clicks on your ad today, but they don't buy for say 3 weeks, it would still get tracked by Facebook within the 28-day click attribution window. The 1-day view bit was captured when somebody saw your ad on their feed, didn't click it, but then made a purchase organically through Google or another search engine. The 1-day view will then trigger and be captured on Facebook. So Facebook pretty much gives itself credit for that ad purchase. But with this update, Facebook is getting rid of the view through. So if somebody views your ad and then Googles and purchases from you that way, you won't see that sale be captured. In addition to that, they're also going to limit the attribution window to 7-day click. So what that means is if someone clicks on your ad today and buys in 3 weeks' time, they're not going to show up in your ad account as a conversion like they usually did. So that means you might start seeing worse results on your ad account, because Facebook will only be able to track sales over a 7-day period. And if someone takes longer than that to purchase, Facebook won't be able to give that campaign any credit. But even though your ad account might look worse, you still have made the sale. So for example, if you make 100 sales, you might only see 80 or 90 in your ad account, and your ROAS might actually be below your break-even point. But in reality, the results you've got from the campaign are exactly the same. You just missed out on some of the reporting because Facebook is now limiting that reporting data. However, for most people, especially those who are dropshipping, you're selling kind of inexpensive products which are mainly impulse buys. So most people are going to buy from you pretty quickly, which means that this won't affect you that much. But if you're selling something a little bit more sort of high ticket, like an expensive physical product or an online course, for example, and you regularly have long lead times because people need to think about that purchase a bit more, only tracking 7 days is going to impact your numbers a lot, because a lot of your sales may come 20, 30, or even 100 days after the ad has been clicked. Also, you may have noticed that purchases at your campaign level have disappeared recently. And this is because of the change in attribution settings. So to fix it, you just need to make a really quick alteration to your dashboard. All you need to do is add a new column called Attribution Settings. This will show you what attribution is assigned to your campaigns, whether that's a 7-day or 28-day click, etc. And if you have different attributions, then Facebook doesn't know how to aggregate the data. So you either need to remove any new 7-day window ad sets or remove the old 28-day window ad sets, because the attribution window needs to be the same for Facebook to aggregate the data correctly. You can also edit the attribution window for the campaigns so that they all match. Basically, you just need to make sure that all of your ad sets are the same and it will work fine. So to do that, just edit the ad set, and at the bottom under Optimization, Delivery and Settings, just change the attribution windows. So in terms of strategy, what you're going to need to do now is you need to look at your Facebook ad account data and then look alongside your Shopify numbers and any other numbers you have across your platforms, such as ClickFunnels, etc. And make sure that you're factoring in the additional purchases or leads that aren't being reported in your Facebook ad account. So your results haven't got worse, you've just lost some of the visibility, and that's very important to know. So don't panic, you just need to budget accordingly so you can afford to run ads a little bit longer than a day or two to make sure that you are capturing what you need to. In terms of the strategies that I teach inside the Advanced Dropshipping Academy, what this means is that they still work. Conversion purchase campaigns still work. All this change means is that there may be less purchases being captured on your ad accounts, but you will still be making those purchases through your Shopify store. At the end of the day, there is way too much money involved in conversion campaigns for changes like this to ruin paid advertising. So I don't think it's going to go away, but it's always good to be looking at new strategies just in case. And I'm testing new ideas as we speak, and if I figure something out, I'll be sure to share it with you guys on the channel. The plus side of all of this is that Facebook makes all of their money from advertising. And if advertising on Facebook is less effective, they know that a lot of advertisers will leave their platform and their profits will drop dramatically. So they will be on this like mad to make sure that it doesn't happen. So don't worry about it. And even if people do leave the platform, that just means the CPMs will start to drop for advertisers that stay on, which means it's cheaper to advertise, which is never a bad thing. So I hope this video has settled your nerves a little bit. If you are interested in learning more about Facebook advertising and how to launch your own dropshipping business by working with me personally, then go ahead and book a free call with me and my team through the link in the description down below. And let's see how we might be able to help you get better results. So click on the link in the description and book in a free strategy session right now. It's a very informal discussion, a no obligation kind of chat where you can find out more about how we can help you build and scale your business. We will talk about your goals and what you're struggling with to create a roadmap that's specifically aimed at you. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, then make sure you click the link in the description and book your call right now. But with that being said, if you found this video useful, then please make sure you smash that like button, comment down below on how you have found this new change with Facebook and what impact it's had on you as well. But other than that, that is the end of this one. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll catch you in the next one.